President Obama speaking out about America's deadliest enemies. His choice of words getting a lot of attention. In an interview with the New Yorker magazine, he compares groups linked to Al-Qaeda to an amateur basketball team. Quote, "The analogy we use around here sometimes, and I think is accurate, is if a Jayvee team, meaning junior varsity team, puts on Lakers uniforms, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant," end quote. Stephen Hayes, senior writer, Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor, and good morning to you from Washington.
Morning, Bill.
What do you think of that? How do you interpret that?
Well, I think it's very short-sighted, but I think it's a sort of a perfect window into the way that the president sees the problem of Al-Qaeda. He prefers to see things as sort of static. He sees the group as static and doesn't, I think, engage in much long-term thinking. So what he's seeing now is these groups putting on the Lakers jerseys. My problem is, of course, the modern-day Lakers were once Jayvee players. I mean, this is how these groups develop and propagate, and that I think that's a big problem.
I think it's just it's an interesting analogy even to draw in the first place. This is another thing he said with regard to Fallujah. When the reporter, David Rebnick, made the comment that Al-Qaeda is now flying its banner over the town of Fallujah yet again. Let's keep in mind, the president said, Fallujah is a profoundly conservative Sunni city in a country that, independent of anything we do, is deeply divided along sectarian lines. It's also a town where countless Marines fought and died.
It is indeed, and look, the president sounds a fatalistic note in that comment, and it doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be fatalistic. There was a time, not too long ago, when Fallujah was trending in the right direction, precisely because the United States had used its leverage to get the Sunni tribesmen to stand up to Al-Qaeda and external forces and try to make a path forward for Fallujah and the surrounding areas. It was succeeding not long ago, and now obviously it's not only failing but failed.
Here's another comment here. The point being, it is profoundly conservative, Fallujah, and the people who live there may be as well. But the sacrifice on behalf of the Americans who tried to secure it for the people who want to choose a life outside of Al-Qaeda was an enormous sacrifice. All right, here we go again. We have to be able to distinguish, the president said, between these problems analytically, so that we're not using a pliers where we need a hammer, or we're not using a battalion when what we should be doing is partnering with the local government to train their police force more effectively, improve their intelligence capacities. That initial comment about pliers instead of a hammer, that sounds like John Kerry in 2004.
Right, it does.
Who made an argument that you have to go after terrorism almost as a police action and not in a war. Is that how you interpret it?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, John Kerry made that argument as a candidate. President Obama's put it in place in 5 years as president. The problem is, this president, if you look back at the past 5 years, virtually nobody at this point disputes that Al-Qaeda is now growing, strengthening, gaining more territory than at any time in its history. I mean, you look at the Financial Times, an article today in the Financial Times makes that case. There was a big spread in USA Today just a couple weeks ago that made that case. Peter Bergen, a terrorism analyst who has in the past sounded notes that are very sympathetic to the arguments that the administration makes, he in fact has said that Al-Qaeda is gaining strength and has amassed more territory than at any time in its history. This is a problem. It's a failure to address Al-Qaeda. It's a failure to adapt to the kinds of changes that Al-Qaeda has been making, while our administration prefers to see this in a very static way, almost as a snapshot.
Well, you are right when you say it gives us a glimpse into the mentality inside the White House and how they approach this. It is fascinating to see it in print now. Stephen Hayes, thank you for your time out of Washington, D.C. today. We'll talk again. Martha.